Dr. Jazz.
I remember the first time I saw it was in Maribor, where I live now. I mean, in 2004, you played with Veryan Weston and Michael Watcher, the Four Walls project
Oh yeah.
with David Brown, who organized this concerts. And I remember I was just like, what? What was happening there? And you know, my first question is like, I think you're one of the innovators of the jazz vocals in the free avant-garde music, if we call it like that. But how did you get how did you start them? Because I know you started playing trumpet, right, in the beginning. When was the decision that you started to go into this direction? I mean, when was the moment you said like, okay, I want to investigate that?
I think as soon as I started to play the trumpet, actually.
How come? I mean,
Yeah, because I was always told as a kid that I was a good singer. Okay, and I was in sort of choirs and I gave concerts and things, but I was never happy with it at all. Yeah, I could sing like a boy's voice songs. I was like a boy soprano, I suppose. And then when I get to be around 15 or 16, I start hearing lots of other voices, and I was very I found it easy to copy voices. I could impersonate people, school teachers and parents and different singers of the time. It seemed much easier than playing the trumpet, which is what I endeavored to do when I was 15, because I thought, I think it was, as it all seemed so easy to me singing, it didn't seem like real somehow. It didn't seem like something to do as a profession, or not that I was ever thinking in terms of professions when I was 15. Not even thinking to be a professional trumpet player. Just to be some sort of musician I would have been happy, because I left school at 15 and I was doing sort of crappy work in a printing factory that I hated, and the machines go. And I thought there must be a better life than this somewhere. Yeah.
wow.
So but then when I was playing the trumpet, I found it was quite hard. You know, even just to get a note out of a trumpet is hard, let alone play tunes, and let alone play so improvise on chord sequences and that. But you know, I could do that vocally quite, and I started singing in dance bands and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I used to do sort of scat singing, but I never really felt comfortable with it. Sort of like, it didn't seem my world, you know. But
yeah. When did you discover jazz in that era? What was? I mean, mid-50s. It was crazy,
I was
right?
in the 50s. I started to listen to sort of quite hardcore sort of New York.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's like we could get Voice of America. I don't know. Are you in? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I'm in Slovenia, but you know, I've read about the history, and of course, yeah.
Yeah, and there was these jazz programs. You switch, you know, you have to find it on a shortwave radio. Then there'd be this one guy's voice, Willis Conover, and you'd hear it. And this is Willis Conover from Voice of America. The next record is the Miles Davis Quintet, or Origin. Coltrane going to listen on this. Yeah. And that's how I started to listen to jazz, and I was just amazed, you know. Yeah, when I was sort of 16, 15,
Oh,
16.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because late 50s, it's like, 59, like kind of Blue came
Oh
out and
yeah.
Ornette came out and all that, and Mingus and
Yeah, yeah. So that, and yeah, and I think consciously in my head, I was always thinking, I'm gonna, I want to do this, some sort of vocally. I know there wasn't a particular art form of that sort of voice experimentation. I think probably within classical music, like Kathy Barbarian and a few other people that were basically playing with their voices as instruments,
yeah.
as opposed to voices trying to sound like mechanical musical instruments, because obviously the voice could go everywhere with the voice. I couldn't do that on the trumpet, although I'm working at trumpet playing again now.
Seriously? Oh wow, man.
Oh yeah, I'm building up my own embouchure, and I'm not thinking of that I have to play sort of straight notes and do complicated fingerings. I do a lot on half volving, where you play the trumpet where it's open basically. You just use your lips all the time and don't do much fingering. But I'm working on that, and at home I do duets with myself on the trumpet.
Man, those must be fun to listen to. I would love to hear those duets actually.
I have taken it on gigs as well now.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Not so much on a solo gig, but on duo gigs. Like I think when I play with Roger Turner, I usually will play some minutes, because the embouchure just doesn't hold out like a voice, because all the energies, that's all it is.
That's heavy.
Crazy, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
But,
and then the voice, yeah.
I love it. Like, you mentioned you were thinking about doing this using the voice. Like, remember the first time you actually used it on a gig, like in this creative manner that you're doing now? I mean, when was that moment? Or
I think I think when I started to work with Mike Westbrook again in the 70s.
Okay.
I think there's a few recordings where I think you could hear it on a Blue Tower record, late 60s, when I lived in Sweden with Lars. Do you know, I think I might just be able to show you that. Where is it? It appeared the other day. Yeah. Yeah, this one. Because where's the camera?
Yeah. Oh shit! I don't have that one. Okay, I have to get it.
The details on the back. That's the best way to look at it, and that's the best thing.
Oh, okay. Shit, I have to get that one. I have the Mike Westbrook's recordings from the 70s, but not this one.
Yeah. Okay, this one.
Super. Okay, thank you. I'll check it out.
And I think that's the first. I did record some recordings before this, but this is the first time I think I was using my voice in the way in the way I.
Yeah. What was it hard for you in the beginning, like to gain confidence and like being a band leader?
Where I was in Sweden, I was working with a Swedish, I suppose, I think they're called cover bands, where you do all the records of the time, the dance records, and it was a particularly good period actually for music. There was a lot of heavy Motown stuff like
Yeah,
Four Tops, Reach Out, I'll Be There, Wilson Pickett, and all that. And I used to do these songs within within this show band's repertoire.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, they had a repertoire of about 700 songs. It was a fantastic band, actually, I must say. Doing, yeah, but of course it wasn't my scene at all, really.
sure.
But I found it really quite easy because I could do different voices, so I could go from sort of like the Wilson Pickett ideas, then to just sort of
Yeah,
doing multiphonic singing, and then going into sort of like like a bridge over trouble. So I was always looking after my voice. I was very conscious of
mm,
what I was doing. Yeah.
mm,
So I had my own personal exercises. Yodel a lot, and I sing backwards. And I have my own personal exercises that I still do today, actually.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
imagine. Yeah. You mentioned Mike Westbrook before. I mean,
yeah,
how did you hook up with Mike? I mean, there's on YouTube like from I don't know, I think 72 you and Mike, but like I think you go even back further, right? Like in the 60s. Like
yeah,
when did you
yeah.
meet? I mean,
But I think Mike met Mike first, I think, in 1962
wow.
at a jazz festival in Taunton, in Devon, a very unlikely place for a jazz festival, the Taunton Jazz Festival in 1962. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
and I was in sort of a local dance band, playing the trumpet, but I also did a little bit of sort of jazzy sort of singing, bit self-conscious at this time. But we were in a jazz competition together, and my group from Torquay came second in the jazz competition, and Mike's group from Plymouth came, I don't think they were placed. They might have come third. I think they came third, but there was another band. Anyhow, so I met Mike and John Sermon and those guys
Oh, wow.
there.
Okay.
I went to a jam session and talked with John Sermon, and he said, "Hey, you should come up to London. We've got a gig at the Marquee." So I said, "Great, yeah, I'll come up to London." And I just packed up. I was working, sort of doing a crap job at the time, so I just threw that in and went to London.
Wow.
And that's by then it was about the winter of 1963,
Wow,
I think.
okay,
And
okay.
and I joined Mike's band on trumpet, basically, and did a little bit of sort of
Mm.
of the scene.
How was the scene in mid 60s, like especially for improvised music? I mean, like I know players like John Sermon, you mentioned Kenny Wheeler, obviously became important, Barry Guy later, so many Howard Riley, all these guys. Like, but how was in mid 60s when were you already like
Yeah.
going into the improvised
Keith
scene?
Rowe. It wasn't really. It was
Kenny,
was
right, yeah.
self-conscious sort of free jazz sort of impersonations, I think. Yeah, but I don't think the it's sort of non. What is it? Derek Bailey said non. He had a term for the music. Yeah, it wasn't free. Freely improvised music. I think Derek Bailey was quite a
Sure.
instigator of that and articulated this sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And of course Keith Rowe as well. And Keith Rowe was also, it was all been sort of talked about. Of course, there was all the action painters in America, Jackson Pollock and the like.
All these guys,
And that seemed to all sort of connect. Yeah. And beatniks and whatever.
yeah, definitely in poetry as well. Yeah. Where does your love for poetry come from? Because I know you did, William Blake and Hesse and Lorca and all these guys.
Yeah.
Where does this come from?
Oh, it comes from people that asking me to do it, really.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't think I'm a big poetry buff. No, but I try to do sort of poetry as a without any particular sort of expression. I try
Yeah.
to do it without any sort of dramatic element to it, or I'm trying to be, yeah, pretty, pretty objective with it. Yeah, I don't try to express the words. I just try my best just to do the words off the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and people seem to like me doing that.
Yeah.
Actually,
I
yeah,
love it. Yeah.
as opposed to yeah, and I must say, I really can't stand singers that put sort of emotion into words, yeah, and all that all the split vowels that was beautiful when it came out of gospel music, but there's this extended,
Yeah.
I'm seeing today. That's another title. So I'm quite, and even sort of like dramatic opera singing, I've never really like that. It sort of sounds crazy to me. There's a nice opera story. I was in a festival in Italy, and I got friendly with some Kathakali musicians, Indian from southern India. I don't know if you know their music.
Yeah.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was talking with the musicians, well, they were talking to me because I didn't speak their language. And what the guy wanted to know was, there was two questions he wanted to know. What the big man I was with was playing, what the instrument was. Yeah, I said, I was quite surprised. He'd never seen a piano before. But the main question was, why when we went to and we listened to some opera in a lovely square, it was a beautiful period actually in this town, the Sant'Arcangelo festival. It was on the east coast of Italy. Yeah, and there was some opera singers singing, really good opera singers singing arias, and I was with these Kathakali guys, and they couldn't believe they'd never heard voice projection, like bel canto voice projection. They always went, why are they all so angry all the time? This is what and it's generally there's like these big people shouting at each other.
Actually,
yeah, that was it. Yeah, it is sometimes quite ridiculous. I know there are beautiful bits of, no, I do love some, and I love some operatic voices as well, like Jussi Björling, someone like that. I don't know, that Swedish tenor, fantastic voice, beautiful singer.
Yeah. No, but I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. It's for me, it's also, that's why with opera, I'm like, when the singing starts, I'm like, shit, and that's the main part, right? I love the music, but I'm like, yeah, it's a personal taste. I mean, sure. But Phil, when did you start doing solo concerts?
Probably in the late 70s or 80s, I think.
Already, okay.
Yeah, I think mostly probably around in London. There's a lot of stuff you could do. A lot of gigs in London. There was the London Musicians Collective.
Yeah.
Which was a place, you just had to put your name down and you could have the evening there. You get good audiences. So, and there were a lot of pubs, upstairs of pubs is where a lot of the music sort of developed within London.
Like in the 80s or?
Oh yeah, in the 80s and 90s, probably until, probably 20 years ago. But there's been a decline. And actually now, since the smoking ban most pubs just don't have these. Well, they don't have the pubs, let alone the upstairs rooms, which was So it's hard to say when I probably did. It was probably sometime in the 80s, probably somewhere at the LMC or in one of the small venues around. Yeah.
How do you prepare for even nowadays, or like back then, just a solo improvised vocal evening? How do you set your mind to do that? Because it's like the most intimate thing you can do, like you vocal there and the audience is looking at you. I have a guitar with me and it's like it's something, but yeah.
It's got easier as I get older. And a bit daunting. I think it might have been in France somewhere a worry is to get nervous actually and dry.
Yeah.
This I do remember. I don't think it was probably the first time, but I remember once where I was nervous. I got terrifyingly dry. I just wanted to drink all the time. In fact, I'm talking now. I'm just going to get a drink of water.
Yeah, sure. Like, how do you prepare for a concert like that, or to have an arc going on? Just alone, you on the stage. I mean, what's in your mind there?
I usually don't have an idea until I sit down. On the side, I much prefer sitting because I noticed when I was standing up, I look really stupid. And so I'm safer sitting down, I think. Yeah, and I feel more. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's whatever comes out for that first that sets me off onto some journey.
Yeah.
You often feel like journeys that, and I often feel I've come to the end of a piece, and then I sort of think, God, I'm supposed to be doing 40 minutes, and it doesn't feel like I've done 40 minutes. I have no idea, and so I start again. Yeah. And then afterwards, the promoter might say, "God, you played for a long time. You played for 50 minutes." Yeah.
I mean,
I do find that sometimes a piece seems to end. Yeah, but it's not the end of the concert. So what? And often, if the audience is with me, they'll wait for me to start again without applause or anything like that. I know that feels great. You get really feel you're getting that that support from the audience. They didn't. I feel I could be quiet for quite a long time until it starts again.
Yeah, that's nice. The silence, that you can also use that, right? And the tension. And beautiful. When you mentioned Roger Turner before, and when did you meet Roger and Veryan Weston? I mean, these guys. I know I have you on some records, on so many records with these two guys. Like, when does your story with them begin?
Oh, with Roger, I think that would be back in the early 70s, I think.
Wow, already. Okay.
Yeah. I met Roger and we started to play together. I think probably at his house first, and then at the London Musicians Collective a lot. We played a lot there, and a lot together, and with different people, and then we got some tours, and we made some records, and of course, and we still do play together. Yeah,
sure. That's incredible.
Still an ongoing duo, and of course we do sort of lineups with some other musicians as well. So, and Veryan,
Yeah.
I think I was in a Trevor Watts group with Veryan, and Trevor Watts was John Stevens' big colleague back in the 60s. Maori Music, that's where I first met Veryan, and we talked about doing compositions and doing a. When did we start off? We started, Songs from a Prison Diary. Do you know this?
No, I have to find that one. Okay.
Songs from a Prison Diary. It's
Write it down.
yeah.
This one I don't have. No.
I think it's on Leo Records.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Leo.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. Yeah. We composed this piece together. Yeah, and it was for 30 voices. Yeah, it's a choral piece, actually formally written, because Veryan is a very methodical classical musician as well, and he's we improvised together, and then Veryan basically takes out sort of little elements of the improvisations and turned it into fantastic. I think it's a fantastic piece, actually. Yeah, Songs from a Prison Diary. Yeah. And that probably started, and then we started to do duos together. In fact, we might have done duos before we even did Songs from a Prison Diary. I think we did. Yeah, we were. We both had a liking for Schubert. I seem to remember. We were talking about Schubert and the Schubert sort of leader songs, and so I'd only recently discovered them. I didn't know much about them, and we started to do. I went round to his house, and we started to do these songs in a very straight sort of way, which is no improvising or anything. Which I thought was quite innovative at the time. But it was just a phase, a period, of time, and I still love listening to someone like Fischer Dieskau or someone singing Schubert. So got a soft spot for that.
When did you also start?
I tried my best to do it, but yeah.
When did you start connecting with? I mean, like the UK improvised scene. It's so strong, and but when did you guys start connecting with other players, like from the German scene, like Peter Bertzmann, and then you have the Dutch scene, and even the US musicians. When did that begin for you? I mean.
I think probably in the late 70s and 80s. You get invitations.
Yeah.
Germany, there was more going on, invitations coming from Germany than the other way around, if you see what I mean. Not apart from one festival at the ICA, there was very little influx of foreign musicians. But we used to get invited to, say, like the Mers Festival, which was and there'd be Americans and everything. It was basically a free jazz festival. Yeah. And so got invitations to go. Yeah. So I think like on European radio as well, there was quite a lot of playing of improvised music.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But, not so much on this side of the channel, but quite a bit over there, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. It's gotten even worse now. Like I had a radio show on Slovenian national radio for 12 years. And in the beginning, I could play improvised music and everything. Then they said, like, we'll go a little bit less extreme. So, okay, I could play straight ahead only. Then they said, like, still less. Then,
Right.
and now they canceled it after 13 years. So even national radios.
Yeah.
Because I could play your music or even Bertzmann, like at 9 p.m. in the evening, like prime time. And, but it's changed.
Yeah, well, Well, I think the BBC World Service as well used to have whole programs about improvised music. What? You can't imagine that these days. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Phil, I wanted to ask you about the Feral Choir project also, because I watched that on YouTube and I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Where are you still doing that? And
Yeah.
where did the idea come
Yeah.
from, actually? I mean,
Oh, I was just asked to do some workshops and then a concert with some singers, right? And I was a little bit reluctant, but I did it. And after a few times, I thought, "Oh, I'm going to stop doing this." I'm not really enjoying it. But then a woman came up who'd been in one of the choirs, and said she had never been as happy in all her life as when she was singing in this choir.
oh wow, man. Okay.
And then I think just on another occasion, just all in the same period, that this guy came up and said, since my wife has been singing with you in the choir, she's a different person at home. She loves it so much. And what?
You're like a psychologist there.
What's going on here? And then, I sort of realized that it was sort of like an amazing sort of release for people, and so I tried to manipulate it into some really interesting music as well. So, I've been doing it since I think the early 80s. Yeah, and I have one coming up in Bristol.
Really?
I think.
Wow. Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I can imagine how the singers react when you first introduce some things, and it must be like so liberating for them also. I mean, just to see what you can do, right?
Yeah.
And,
we have a whole workshop period before, because I don't want people to damage their voices if they get a bit. Wait a minute. That's better. Yeah, I don't want people to damage their voices like I seem to be damaging mine at the moment.
Otherwise, I wanted to ask you. You played with so many improvisers in Europe. What about the States? Did you ever go to New York and perform with the improvising scene there?
Yeah.
Because I know I have the records with Bob Ostertag and Fred Frith, but like,
yeah.
When did you first time travel?
I don't have any recordings.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with Fred invited me. Fred Frith, when he lived in New York, invited me over. Played in the early days of the New York scene. There was David Moss around. Don't know if you know David. And Charlie Noyes. Yeah, and Fred, of course, and Bob Ostertag, and there was a young saxophone player, John Zorn. Yeah, all sort of like a little scene. I went a few times, I think, in late 70s, early 80s, and that period. Yeah, to New York. I don't know if there's any recordings. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have the one with Say No More with Bob, and then the one you did with Fred and Bob, actually. But
that was one in London, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bob's electronics fucked up or something. There's something wrong.
Yeah. No, I love that stuff. It's even now if you put it on, it's like, man, it sounds so cool. Really.
What are these guys doing?
Yeah, exactly. No, but you mentioned you have a Bristol workshop project going on. Otherwise, what's still on the schedule for you for this year? I mean, do you have any concerts coming up or festivals?
I got Feral Choir at Cafe Otto. I got some gigs in Germany with the Ubu Orchestra from with Gerhard Hurt and a lot of German improvisers. And some gigs in Scandinavia, I think. hopefully. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think going to Slovenia at all.
Yeah, well, man, it
But,
would be nice to see you. Last time I saw you was in Cerkno, actually. You did a duo with Cerkno Festival in Slovenia.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You did a duo with Zilard Meze, a friend of mine.
Zilard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope I have some gigs with him coming up. He was
Really?
organizing.
Oh.
Yeah, because we did do some together.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And I think we have a recording coming out. Yeah. I must get in contact with Zilard. Yeah. If you see him before I do, say hello.
I will definitely. But cool, good to hear you. You have lots of action still going on. I mean, it's incredible, that you still have so much energy, and nice to see that.
Yeah.
And so beautiful, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Phil, I'll leave you a nice morning now. So
okay. Oh, cool. Right. Yeah.
But thanks for sharing some of this stuff. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Do you edit it at all?
No, I usually I'll just cut out the thing when you went to grab your water. Otherwise I just leave it. It was a nice flow, so beautiful.
Beep.